Leave no one behind. It's one of the cornerstones of the U.S. military. But when, after 20 years, American armed forces left Afghanistan, in the eyes of many, this sacred oath had been violated. Countless Afghans who helped Americans end the cause for democracy were suddenly abandoned, vulnerable to being killed by the Taliban, the fundamentalist Islamic militia that had retaken the country. Back in the U.S., acting outside of military channels, hundreds of groups of veterans and civilians formed overnight, hatching escape plans to help Afghans find passage to safety and freedom. Tonight, the dramatic and cinematic story of one such network that outwitted the enemy and avoided a mass funeral by staging a mass wedding.
The story will continue in a moment.
This is not how America's longest war was drawn up to end. Afghans fleeing the conquering Taliban in August 2021. So desperate to get out, they overwhelmed the Kabul airport and clung to departing U.S. military planes, a last grasp at freedom. Did it feel like defeat?
I mean, it felt like defeat because technically it was a defeat, but it felt much more like leaving people behind personally.
Jason Kander had served as an Army intelligence officer in Afghanistan, meeting thugs, he says, to glean information about other thugs, often accompanied only by his translator, Salam Raoufi.
To know that there were people there who had put their lives on the line for us, it felt like leaving a friend behind when you had promised them you wouldn't.
Home in Kansas City, Kander watched in shock as Afghanistan fell, and immediately he reached out to his translator, Salam, who was safe and out of the country.
And at some point I did say to him, do you have anybody over there who's in danger? And he told me about his nephew in Afghanistan.
Salam's nephew Raheem was squarely in Taliban crosshairs because he possessed critical documents from his work in payroll for Afghanistan International Bank. What list does Raheem have that makes him such a target?
Raheem has access to the list of tens of thousands of Afghans who had worked directly with everybody from the UN to the U.S. Embassy to any other multilateral, just trying to build democracy in Afghanistan, everything that the Taliban stood against, and everything that once the Taliban took over, one of their first priorities was to find those people and make an example of them by imprisoning them or killing them.
Does the Taliban ever get their hands on that list?
No. I never gave up.
Never got the list?
Never provide a single information.
Raheem Raoufi's refusal to cooperate enraged the Taliban. How were you threatened?
Oh, we just received night letters.
Night letters?
Yeah, night letters.
The night letters were Taliban edicts dropped under doors under the shroud of dark. One sent to the Raoufi home in Kabul read, "Your whole family is sentenced to death for betraying the Islamic Emirate," using the Taliban's choice term for Afghanistan.
They clearly mentioned that they are going to kill me.
You had to get out of there.
Yeah.
For Raheem and his clan of 12, his wife, their children, including triplets, his mom, his brothers, a nephew, sisters-in-law, hope for a passage to safety rested with a Little League dad 9.5 time zones away in Kansas City, Missouri, Jason Kander. The two began exchanging encrypted text messages.
He was the only one. The only person who showed up for you that in your worst time.
But you've never seen this guy?
No. Even I don't know how he looks like.
My thinking was, how in the world can I go on with the rest of my life thinking maybe there was something else I could have done for Raheem?
Yet another dynamic. After Kander had been honorably discharged as an Army captain, a political career took off. He was seen as a rising Democratic Party star, and in 2016, Kander nearly won a U.S. Senate seat for Missouri. Then he stepped away from politics, citing his struggles with untreated PTSD, an unhappy legacy from Afghanistan. And this didn't give you pause. Maybe I shouldn't jump back in the fire. The very country where this PTSD took root, no less.
Ultimately, I just made the decision that it didn't matter. I would deal with it afterwards. And I made the decision, which I knew at the time was probably poor judgment, to say to Raheem, no matter how long it takes, we're going to get this done. I knew that I was biting off more than I could chew. And we're just trying to get our friends out of Afghanistan. And then
Kander joined with other private citizens, feverishly plotting to evacuate nearly 400 endangered Afghans that included soldiers, poets, doctors, and the Raufis. And the overarching plan initially is what?
Well, the overarching plan initially is, what the hell are we doing? That didn't work, let's try this.
Jason's wife, Diana, became concerned her husband's desire to rescue the Raufi family might damage his own family. Are you worried he may decide to go over there?
Yeah, he asked me for he's like called me from the other room. He's like, hey, where's my passport? Just by the by. And I was like, yeah, zero chance. You're even getting access to your passport.
You brought it up.
Oh, even me and some other guys, yeah, we had ideas as to what we were going to do. They were all bad ideas, but we were also running out of ideas by that point, so.
Once the last American military plane departed Afghanistan on August 30th, 2021, the Taliban controlled the Kabul airport, choking off the most obvious escape route. Kandar and his ad hoc group directed the imperiled Afghans to head to the northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif.
Let's get everybody to Mazar-e-Sharif, let's have them in hiding, and then let's charter a plane, get it in there, and then we got to figure out somehow how to take all these people who the Taliban are looking for and stage them in one place and get them into the airport.
The thinking at that moment, in the north of the country, the Taliban wasn't quite as entrenched. But for the Raufi family, the city of Mazar-e-Sharif was a treacherous 11-hour drive from Kabul, dotted with Taliban checkpoints. Is there not a fear that you are potentially sending this family of 12 to their death?
Yeah, it was a big fear. It was all I thought about.
How do you reckon with that?
I wasn't going to walk away. And it also seemed like if we weren't successful, that's what was going to happen anyway. You know, part of it was Raheem had to send me all the documents for the entire family.
That included headshots of all 12 Raufis.
So at this point, what's living in my phone is pictures of these little girls. And for me, what I kept thinking about was, you know, my wife came here as a refugee at the age of 8 from Ukraine with her family. And when I looked at these little girls, that's what I saw. I saw little Diana. And so not only was quitting not an option, failure wasn't an option.
In the early morning of September 1st, 2021, the Raufis began their convoy to Mazar. A few minutes in,
suddenly the Taliban came out in front of my car, and they had a gun in their hands. Oh my God. I said, now you are done. And they start searching us.
Taliban searching your car.
Taliban search me and the driver. And they have the gun, and the kids are just, they thought that they're going to shoot me or the driver. Only because of my kids crying and shouting, they just released it.
If your children are not crying in the car, which gets sympathy from the Taliban, done.
Done.
They finally rolled into Mazar-e-Sharif, Afghanistan's 4th largest city. And now what?
The Raufis are in Mazar-e-Sharif, and myself and the people I was now working with are engaged in solving a few problems, or trying to. One, how do we raise the money to get an airplane chartered to fly in there to pick up close to 400 people? And also, how do we make it so that the Taliban doesn't know that we're doing this?
The day after the Raufis arrived in Mazar in September 2021, the Taliban, in a show of strength, paraded in the center of town. The Raufis went underground for weeks, finding their own safe houses. One night, Raheem surreptitiously took this video of a Taliban roundup, just across the street from where the family was hiding. As the Raufis dodged the Taliban, half a world away, Jason Kandar and his co-conspirators were finalizing a Hail Mary plan of either genius or insanity. On September 21st, it was go time.
I tell Raheem, okay, today's the day. You're moving.
He said, 1 bag per person. This is the location I'm sending you. You have a code word, and it's Bella. I said, Bella? He said, yeah, my daughter's name.
Get ready,
Yeah.
bring a bag,
Yes.
code word Bella.
Is it someone that I should give this code? Whom I should give? Because Jason didn't give me a name that you should go to that person. He just told me to go to this location.
Wait. So you have a code, but you don't know who to say. You say the code to the wrong person.
If you say the code to the wrong person, then you're...
Kander directed the Raoufis to a wedding palace in Mazar. There, Raheem spotted a man with a beard, a turban, and a look of authority.
He had a laptop.
That was your clue.
Yeah. He asked me, do you have anything? I said, Bella. When I said Bella, he opened his laptop. And he asked me for my last name. I said, Raoufi. My heart was beating very fast. Then he said, 12 people. I said, yes. Then he said, bring them in.
The Raoufis were led to a large hall inside the wedding palace.
When they opened the door, I was shocked. I see that there are more people. There are women, men, kids with their bag.
Just like you, hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yes, 370 or 380 people.
Do you recognize any of them?
No, none of them. No.
Didn't know any of them?
No one is talking with each other, just hi, hello, salam, that's it. Then I called Jason and said, brother, I'm in, but there are more people. Then he told me, welcome to the wedding party. Welcome to the wedding party.
That's what he said?
Yeah, welcome to the wedding.
Is there a bride?
No.
A groom?
Nothing.
Music?
Nothing at all.
I hope they fed you at least.
Very good.
It was a fake wedding, a ruse to slip past the unsuspecting Taliban and gather 383 Afghans in one place before a high-stakes attempt to reach the airport. When we come back, the wedding party makes its great escape. The fake wedding threw the Taliban off the scent, but 383 Afghans with ties to the U.S. and the fight for democracy were marooned for 3 days in a wedding hall. All the while, Jason Kander, the former Army captain in Kansas City, continued concocting the evacuation plan. Through crowdfunding and private donations, Kander and other orchestrators frantically raised money to charter a commercial plane that would whisk away the entire wedding party to, of all places, Albania, a way station until the Afghans were granted clearance to enter the U.S. But inside the wedding palace, Raheem Raoufi knew none of this.
The story will continue in a moment.
It was not clear for me what Jason is doing.
It's a lot of trust.
It's just trust.
When did you start to realize that things might be moving in a good direction?
Some people start receiving travel documents, like the boarding pass.
So how did you get your boarding pass?
Yeah, we just receive it through email. This is the one.
That?
Yes.
That's your boarding pass?
Yeah, it's a boarding pass with my entire family names on it. And it says a special flight.
This doesn't look particularly official. This looks like an email from a law firm with some yearbook photos photoshopped.
That's what the 380 people, they had only this one.
This, too, was the handiwork of the rescue team in America, in coordination with Jason Kander. Explain these boarding passes, which look something less than official.
So the boarding passes, which were quite unofficial, only matter if there is a flight manifest document from the nation of Albania. Otherwise, they're just a piece of paper you're going to present and then go to prison. So what was going to happen was the Albanian government was going to send to the Taliban a visa-cleared flight manifest, a list of people that said, these are the people who we are expecting to have land in our country. Now, what these people needed to do was present something that had their pictures on it, had their names, their date of birth, everything that would match up to what was on that document.
In other words, everything rested on the Taliban, a group more known for executions than for following international protocol.
The really terrifying and lethal game of capture the flag that was trying to get someone out of Afghanistan at that moment in time worked like this. If the Taliban finds you and you're someone they're looking for, they can do whatever they want. They run the country. if they do not find you until you have made it inside the airport and you are on a manifest for a flight that is visa cleared by another country, well now, if they imprison you or shoot you in the head, you are someone that was expected to land in another country, and now it's an international incident.
It was finally time to test the Taliban. Buses arrived at the Mazar-e-Sharif airport filled with the 383 members of the wedding party.
Oh my God, there was checkpoints.
In the terminal and on the tarmac, the Taliban was everywhere.
They were just coming and see to your face. I was shaking, I was sweating. Now what? Now you're in front of the Taliban. They were just looking for a single mistake.
One little number, one
misspelled name, or anything to stop you. If they stop you, then you're gone.
From the gate, the Raoufis could see their aircraft, this vessel to freedom, so tantalizingly close. Are you thinking this is the big gamble? This is either going to end terribly or I'm getting on that plane?
It's a gambling that you even didn't see your cards. What you have? What you got? What will happen? But you just gamble your entire life.
The bet paid off. Astonishingly, the Taliban honored the homemade boarding passes in the Albanian manifest and relented. The wedding party boarded the charter plane. Back in Kansas City, Jason Kander followed the drama on a flight tracking app.
There's 0 planes over Afghanistan. And then finally, they're on the plane and the transponder turns on and you see one little airplane turn on the runway in Mazar-e-Sharif.
That's your plane.
That was Bella. That was our plane.
After the plane soared safely out of Afghan airspace, the champagne came out. The rescuers celebrated. The wedding party landed in Tirana, Albania, and were bused to a seaside resort, the Raffaello. By sheer coincidence, a giant replica of the Statue of Liberty stands outside the front lobby.
That was a very beautiful hotel, one of the toppest hotels near the ocean with the ocean view. So when we arrived there, I said, wow.
Raheem Raoufi recorded this video of his kids on the beach addressing a guy they still hadn't met.
Thank you, Jason Uncle.
Thank you, Jason Uncle. They get to Albania, obviously not the ultimate final destination. How long did you anticipate everyone being in Albania for?
So what we had been told by people at the Department of Homeland Security was that it would probably be a few weeks. And what happened is that weeks went by, and then somewhere, I want to say 2-3 months after we got out, the State Department made an announcement that anybody who got out after August 31st would not be part of Operation Allies Welcome. And basically, it was all code for you're on your own. If you got out this way, that's a private effort. We got nothing to do with it. And that was a big shock and a huge problem.
A year passed. By the fall of 2022, the honeymoon long over, the wedding party was still stuck at the Raffaello Resort in Albania.
Maybe we are not going to be accepted, then they will send us back. So if they send us back, I'm sure on the airport they will kill us.
On top of that, private donations that had been covering the resort tab were running low. You've crossed the year mark. Who's paying this hotel bill?
There were some very generous donors who helped us over time, and the people who had helped me raise the money in the first place did a lot of work, and it's taken a toll on all of us. But I think now, if you talk to any of us, we'd say it's the most important thing we've ever done.
Finally, nearly 2 years into the wedding party saga, emails arrived from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The Afghans had been approved officially to resettle in America.
Oh my God, that was a big party. I just called Jason and said, hey, we all got the approval.
Emotional day.
I was like crying inside. Yep. Like, now you have a future.
Raheem Raoufi had never been to America, but he knew exactly where he wanted to call home. As he put it to Jason Kander,
where do you live? Because I have no idea. But wherever you live, I'll come to that state.
In June of 2023, Raheem Raoufi and his family arrived in Kansas City. Jason Kander and his family were there to greet them.
I said, brother, is this real life? He said, Jason replied me, yes. And I said, we did it.
You've had this intense, multi-year relationship with this family, but you've never met them. When you finally see them in person, what is that like for you?
It was sort of an out-of-body experience. And to see my kids and the Roofie kids sitting on the floor playing and not needing any language, it really underlined for me what I had felt all along, which is that there's really no difference between these kids and my kids, and that they all deserve the same thing. And yeah, it was pretty special.
Today, Raheem Raoufi is back to working in accounts at a bank, this one in downtown Kansas City, where his brothers serve as security guards. The Raoufis and the Kanders regularly get together for a traditional Afghan meal, Bella of code word fame included. For all the distance that once divided them, they now live 10 minutes apart.
At midnight, when I wake up, I'm taking like 1 or 2 minutes to think. Is it real?
Still.
Still. Is it real? I'm going to my kids' room and see them and check them. They are sleeping very comfortable. And the next day they are going to school.
Afghanistan doesn't go down as a great U.S. military success. Do you feel like you got a W here?
There was a point during this where somebody I was doing this with and we were talking, and one of us said, do you worry that maybe all we're trying to do is win the war we just lost? And yeah, I think there was a part of that, for sure. But I want Americans to know that every Afghan that they meet did something heroic to get here. And when you first meet them, they might be in a job where you may not think about that. They might be bussing your table, they might be driving your Uber, but these are some of the most industrious and resilient and incredible people that you'll ever meet, and I just would like every American to know that.